Andy, it feels like the way that we try to quantify risk is broken.
Yep.
Do we measure risk wrong by trying to get it or force it into dollar terms?
Absolutely. And there's an entire risk quantification movement on the cyber side. And the one thing that I would love for every CFO to do is when a security person walks in with a dollar number to tell them just stop. Like they spend way too much time and energy trying to get it into a dollar number, and it's not even credible. There's a system called FAIR, which is the factor analysis of information risk, that basically structures it like a Fermi problem, which is you put in a bunch of variables, you guess at the numbers, or you get, even with high confidence, multiply them together, and the number on the output is directionally accurate. And so I've got like 15 risks, and one of them's a $40 million risk and one of them's a $5 million risk. Even if those numbers aren't accurate, it tells me I should work on the $40 million risk before I work on the $5 million risk, assuming they have equal cost to solve. The problem is when I take that number out and I walk over to a CFO and I say, hey, I need to invest in this. This is a $40 million risk. I'm going to go take $5 million to go solve it. The CFO is like, time out. Where are you getting that $5 million from? And assuming I give it to you, does this mean that I can put you on the hook for the company being $40 million more profitable, or $35 million, because you're going to take 5? So I expect, that would be amazing, 8x return on investment. I don't know a CFO who wouldn't jump at that. But the reality is you're never going to see that 40 million because it's weird math to get to it. It's the probability of an incident. We don't really measure our incident rates over time correctly. So who knows if that will ever show back up. And next year when the person comes in and says, hey, I've got a $60 million risk, I need $8 million, the CFO should look at them and say, I gave you $5 million last year and I didn't see 35 million hit my bottom line. Stop trying to quantify risk. I like to use what I call the pyramid of pain. Because the reality is risk is not all shaped the same. The risk of shoplifting is a very different conversation than the risk of regulatory capture from one of your competitors putting you out of business. You should never talk about these two in the same breath, unless you're saying never talk about these two in the same breath. So you should talk about them based on the appropriate level. And so in the pyramid of pain, you basically just say, look, what's the bad outcome? We talk about scenarios and say, you have an incident score. And I assume every company has some incident management program that has severity levels. Like severity 1 is the worst you talk about. In a severity 1 incident, some executive's in charge and they can do whatever they want. Fix the problem because we're burning down right now. And after the fact, some severity 1s we recategorize as disasters. We say, we will not be the same company after that incident. So we're going to change what we were doing. This wasn't just a bad day. We should never do this. Severity 2's pretty bad. You've got some customers who are really unhappy. You really want to marshal your resources, but you can't create more severity 1 incidents, right? These are not customer base wide. You're not destroying your whole market. It's just very significant for customers. Sev 3, hey, you've got managers and directors that care about it, but VPs probably don't even notice it. And Sev 4 is the thing only engineers care about. So high level, got 4 severities of incidents plus disaster at the top. That's the only level at which you care when you talk about bad outcomes. Within Sev 1, we shouldn't try to negotiate in advance, oh, this is a worse Sev 1 than that one. No. We gave a senior vice president the platinum card and said, go fix the problem. We don't really care whether what we did was shut down all of our customers or merely 90% degraded them. This is not worth negotiating over. And then when we talk about the scenario that causes it, we should just talk about how surprised we would be if it happens. Don't worry about probability, because probability numbers are just not believable. And so I have 5 surprise levels that I talk about. My first one is what I call repeating. It's actually just happening right now. Or it has happened multiple times in the past, so deal with it. A repeating disaster, we kind of don't need to prioritize those. At that moment, I don't have to tell you how bad this is because the CEO won't stop calling other people, telling them to fix it right now. We have what I like to call expected, but no lawyers like that phrase because then you sort of have to disclose to the regulators that, well, we have an expected severity 1. So I still go plausible. Nobody in the company would be surprised if this happens. And there's every company I've ever worked for or talked to, there's a handful of risks that they're oh, I've got a scenario that we cannot figure out why our competitor hasn't figured this out or one of our customers or some third party, but hey, We're just happy nobody's exploiting this and giving us a really bad day. I like to think of it, they're like the TSA is great. There's a handful of them and I don't want to publicly disclose them. But next time you're like going through security, like just look and say, how all the different ways people could totally exploit security. And they don't, but these are plausible risks. And then you get into the ones that surprise people. And I divide the world into 3 categories of people: the naive or the gullible, the normal, and the paranoid. And so if only the naive people are surprised, our product managers, the people that we pay to be optimistic, our sales reps who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to blow out my quota, or at least the CRO and RevOps team who are always wrong on the high side. You're like, okay, great. If you're the only people who would be surprised, that's a mildly surprising event. Then if the most of the company is surprised, and then if my security people are surprised, like those are my 5 levels, my surprise levels. Now I just like map my incident and say, who would be surprised? What would be the bad incident? And just, that's my whole system. Like, is it a tier 0, tier 1, tier 2? And you just don't compare across tiers. If I've got a tier 2 risk, which is either a repeating Sev 2 incident, plausible Sev 1 incident, or mildly surprising disaster, I just say, okay, that's tier 2. C-level executives care about those. That's what we prioritize, is all the tier 2 risks. We don't talk about tier 3 risks because that's what we have vice presidents for. Tier 4 risks, that's what we have managers and directors for. That's all you need to do at the executive level to talk about risk. If your CISO is talking about stuff under tier 2, not interesting. You should basically take them aside and say, look, those are great conversations. Have them with your peers. But when you walk into an executive boardroom, we want to talk about the 13 tier 2 risks that might put us out of business, but might. Not are going to, because if they're going to, don't wait for the meeting. Let's go solve those. But that's what you need to focus on.
Run the Numbers is a mostly LLC production. Yelling an intro by Fat Joe. Artwork by some AI thingamajig. Podcast and video editing is done by Cleancast at cleancast.io. Nothing said on this podcast is intended to be business or investment advice. It's the sole opinion of me, a guy who feeds his dog too much ice cream and has a history of net operating losses, lol. If you like this podcast, please hit subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And also check out mostlymetrics.com. That's my newsletter where I explore business models and financial metrics. Thanks for riding with me. Share this with your friends. Peace.